Hey Flight Simmers, Bandit here. Welcome to the Bandit Flight Simmer YouTube channel. So here we are in London, Ontario, episode 2, and we're going to start our first leg of our trip around the world. Looks like a beautiful day here in London. It's gorgeous weather, clear skies, light winds. The snow is all gone according to Microsoft Flight Simulator anyway. Right now temperature's above zero, so I don't think they show any snow when it's above zero. So we're gonna head off to Quebec City, and that is about a 3-hour trip. And as I said before, I'll condense it down to about a 30-minute video. So let's hop in and go over the setup for today's leg, and then we'll get airborne. So here we are. We'll go over the flight plan first. And what I did is I used a program called SimBrief to run a quick flight plan just for where we're going to be heading today. And I'm not going to go over how to use SimBrief. There's lots of YouTube videos on the internet how to use it. But generally it just gives me a quick look at how much fuel I'm going to need for today's leg. And we're going to go VFR, and these use IFR fuel planning requirements, but it'll tell us what we need for the leg anyway. And so we're going to fly up around Niagara Falls, back over to Toronto, and then up Lake Ontario, through Montreal, and then up to Quebec City. And we see the trip fuel is 329 pounds. And then if we add in some reserves for 15 minutes, that will give us another 24 pounds, so about 350 pounds. And if we convert that to gallons, it's close to 50 gallons of fuel. So that's what we're going to need to do the trip today. We're not going to need IFR reserves that they have on the flight plan. But when we do file IFR, it'll be nice to have those reserve calculations as well. So that is basically estimated at doing 75% cruise power, and that will give us, we have a plus 10 knot push today with the winds, and that will give us a flying time of 3 hours and 28 minutes. Probably because we're doing this little dip down to Niagara Falls here. So what I'll do is I'll program the couple of waypoints in just for reference, so we have something in our Garmin system, and then we will start up and head on out. Okay, I'll just do a quick start here, get the engines going, and then we don't run down our battery for programming the Garmin here, because it is quite slow sometimes in the flight simulator here. So we'll start with getting our fuel on. And then we'll throw our electric master on. Get our 2 engine masters on, alternators on. Prime the fuel pumps. Clear these cautions. Get our alternate screen on. Clear to the right and clear to the left, and I think we're ready to do a quick start here. So starting the right engine first, and starting the left engine. Okay, and so we'll get our avionics master on now, and we'll quickly program the Garmin with our waypoints. So I'll zoom in on the Garmin screen, and then we'll go through the loading of the flight plan. So for the flight plan, we go to the flight plan button here, and as you can see it's blank right now, so we'll load in some waypoints. And what I did is I just picked some basic nav aids or airports along our route that are going to be used as references for this VFR leg today. So we'll start off by entering in our departure Paradrome, and that is Charlie Yankee X-ray and uniform. So you select it like that, and then you just hit enter, and there's our first our departure. And our first waypoint is going to be the St. Catharines VOR, which is Sierra November, and we'll enter that in. Enter, and we want the NDB that's located in Canada, so we'll select that, and there, that's our first leg, and it goes 83 miles on a track of 096, so that looks good. So I'm not going to bore you with loading in the rest of the waypoints. I'll do that off camera here, and then we will just go over the route as it's loaded here, and then we'll get up on our way. Okay, so I got the route programmed in. Start off at London, we're going to St. Catharines, and then we'll be in the vicinity of Niagara Falls. Head on up to the Toronto Island NDB, then up to Kingston VOR, up by Lake Ontario, through Montreal, and then into Quebec City. So we will just take a look on the map here and just make sure that looks like where we want to go. So yeah, we're going to be heading down to Niagara Falls, up to Toronto, across Lake Ontario, Montreal, up to St. Lawrence to Quebec City, so it all looks good. So I think we're programmed, ready to go, and let's taxi on out to runway 26. I just got the ATIS, the winds are 260 at 10, and clear skies, and the altimeter was 2987, so we will taxi out for runway 26 and start off on our route. Now for this route, we're just going to stay VFR today as long as possible, so as long as you're below 3,000 feet, you don't have to fly an altitude appropriate for direction of flight, so we're just going to stay around 1,000, 1,500 feet AGL just to see some of the scenery. And if we need to, around the vicinity of Montreal, there might be a little worse weather, possible snow showers. We'll see how accurate the weather is at Microsoft Flight Simulator. But we may have to climb up to an appropriate altitude, or maybe even get an IVAR clearance to get into Quebec City. But the weather in Quebec City is supposed to be actually not too bad, so we'll see how it goes. Now, the other thing I'll go over for the fuel on this airplane, and if you see the fuel settings here, I'm going to take full fuel here, which is about 90 gallons, just short of 90 gallons, even though we don't need it today. We're not fuel restricted in this aircraft when we only have a couple of people, so myself and you're my co-pilot today, so we can take a full load of gas, and it does cost a little bit to carry the extra gas, but my feeling is it's worth the cost to have that extra gas in the tank in case you need to divert somewhere or anything like that. So for the sake of carrying the extra gas, or the cost of carrying the extra gas, we're not going to worry about it. But you can see the way the fuel works in this airplane. They have two left and right main, and they carry around 26 gallons each, and then they have a left aux and a right aux tank, which carries just under 19 gallons each. And you'll see the fuel gauge here only shows the main tank, so it shows full at 25 gallons, but we actually have the extra, almost 40 gallons, 39 gallons of gas in the aux tank, and we'll talk about that. I'll show you how that works a little later on. So right now it only registers that we have 50 gallons, but we actually have closer to 90 gallons of gas. Okay, so let's head on out. Okay, to taxi out here, we will just get the aircraft ready, put the flaps at takeoff, get our pitot heat on. We will throw our taxi light on, position lights on, and we're just going to make a right turn and taxi out Alpha for runway 26. Parking brakes released. Sorry, buddy. I'll chop you in half here as we head out. Okay, so I'll get the scale out on our map here a little bit. So See our first leg a little better. And I'll just make traffic advisory calls. London traffic, it's Charlie Bandit November Delta Tango, taxiing Alpha, cross 33 for departure runway 26 from Alpha. Any conflicting traffic advise. So that's a standard Unicom call. So we'll be taking off runway 26, which is westbound, and we're heading east, so I'll make a left-hand turn, and then we'll join our track to St. Catharines. I'll climb up to about 2,000 feet, which is about 1,500 feet AGL. So I'll put that in our altitude selector for now, just for reference. Okay, so we're coming up to the takeoff. We'll do an intersection takeoff. That still leaves plenty of runway. It's about 6,300 foot runway, and I think it's going to leave about 5,500 feet for takeoff, so that's more than enough for us. So we'll get our landing light on, strobe light on, taxi light off, and we'll put our fuel pumps on. Temperatures and pressures are all good. Flaps are takeoff, and make a call. London traffic, it's Diamond Charlie Bandit Bravo November Delta Tango, and we were entering 27 at Alpha for a southeastbound, left turn southeastbound departure. Conflicting traffic, it's Charlie Bandit November Delta Tango. Up to the runway here, and it's all clear, and we will fly full power. It's 80 knots, and we'll rotate. And positive rate. Gear up. Above 100, flaps up. And T's and P's are good, and we'll start our left turn out. Now, if you see over in the engine instruments here, it shows yellow 100% and the prop speed of yellow. That's because it's right on the edge of the limits, and you're allowed to do that for 5 minutes on the takeoff. So what we will do is we'll bring the power back here as we level off, and we won't exceed that 5 minutes. So I'll bring the power back to the 75%. Continue the turn, so gears up, flaps are up. Shut off our fuel pumps. And we'll shut off our landing light. Okay, so we're going to intercept our track outbound to St. Catharines. So on the CDI here, which is our course direction indicator, I'll bring up our GPS track. What we will do is just put an intercept heading on to get on that track, and then we'll head off towards St. Catharines. We'll get back down to our 2,000 foot altitude. Okay, so we're all trimmed up. Kind of heading on to intercept our altitude, slowly descending back down to our 2,000 foot altitude. And that's not a hard altitude, we're just visual right now, so it's not like we're IFR and I have to maintain that exact altitude. As long as we're about 1,000 feet above ground, that's suitable for this VFR leg. And check power set 74, that's good. Our fuel flow is about 14 gallons per hour, so that's fine. We got a nice cruise speed going on here. So once we get on track here, I will probably just throw the autopilot on and then we'll just sit in cruise mode here and enjoy the scenery. And I'll come back to you when we get closer to Niagara Falls and we'll have a look at the scenery in Niagara Falls. Okay, so we're just coming up to St. Catharines, Ontario. And I got our route going up to Toronto after that, but we're just going to continue on past Niagara Falls. It's just right up here. You can kind of see it off in the distance there. And we'll go have a look at the falls. You'll see the route cycle up to Toronto, like it does right there. But we don't have the autopilot engaged, so we're just going to keep on going, and then we'll pick up that route after we go look at the falls. So let's head on over and take a look. So there's Niagara Falls right over there. And what we'll do is we'll do a little fly past here. That's the American Falls. And there's the Canadian Falls right there. So we'll just do a little fly past and have a look. There we go. There's a beautiful external view flying by Niagara Falls. There's the Horseshoe Falls, Canadian side, and then there's the American Falls. And then the Niagara River continues on down to Lake Ontario. There's Niagara Falls, Canada, right there. Yeah, beautiful visuals in this simulator, that's for sure. Okay. And what we'll do is we'll continue a left turn and we'll pick up our track up to Toronto. It's beautiful. So here we are coming up to Toronto. And we're just coming up over Toronto Island. The Toronto Island Airport is just off our left wing there. When we roll out here, you'll see the city of Toronto. There's the CN Tower. There's Toronto Island Airport. Here we're just going to continue up Lake Ontario here. Okay, so here we are on the northern part of Lake Ontario. Actually, this is just an area called the Bay of Quinte, and it's an inlet that comes off the northern part of Lake Ontario. And to the left here, we're just flying by Canadian Forces Base Trenton, and it's the town of Trenton there. And this is a air base, Canadian air base, where they fly Hercules C-130 aircraft. And this is a beautiful area, the Bay of Quinte, and this goes up around here and feeds down into Lake Ontario, just off to our right over there. We've run into a little bit of cloud here, but we're still at 2,000 feet and we're well below the cloud, and the visibility is still great, so still great for VFR flying. What I'm going to talk about now is the fuel, and you can see our fuel gauge has come down a little bit here, and this doesn't register what we have in the aux fuel tanks. So what we're going to do now is transfer the fuel over from the aux tanks. Come down to our center panel here, and we see we have left and right aux pumps. We turn both of those on, and we'll get an advisory that the left aux pump is on and the right aux pump is on as well. And what you'll notice over the next 20 minutes or so is that this fuel quantity will increase as it transfers the fuel from the aux tanks into the main tanks. And we'll eventually get a aux pressure low lights up here, and that'll tell us that those tanks have been emptied, and then we should have pretty close to full fuel tanks again on the main tanks. So we'll look at that when the lights come back on. Anyway, we'll continue along here, and we'll look at the scenery as we get a little closer to Montreal. Well, we do see some icing here forming up on the window. That's probably just because we're right at the base of the cloud here, and we might just be hitting the wisp of moisture at the base of these clouds, and since the temperature is below zero, it's going to freeze on the windshield. So we can come down here and we'll have a windshield de-ice, and I'll just press and hold that, and what that does is dispenses a glycol type fluid on the windscreen, which will run up the windscreen and clear up our windscreen, and you can see that right there. So we might have to drop down a few hundred feet just to stay clear of the clouds, and hopefully the weather in Montreal doesn't get any worse. And you can see we did pick up a little bit of ice on the props as well. Okay, we'll continue on and take a look at the weather again a little further down the road, the trail here. As we get a little further here, we just passed Kingston, Ontario, which is right here, and this is the start of the St. Lawrence River up here. And if we look over to our right there, you can see St. Lawrence River running up there. This area is known as the Thousand Islands area, and I guess there's 1,000 islands of these little islands that scatter in and out of the entrance to the St. Lawrence River. It's quite a popular tourist area. As you can see too, we are getting into some snow, and you see the little bit of icing we picked up along the way, and this isn't simulated very well in Microsoft Flight Simulator. There's, for the little wisp of cloud that we've touched on here, there's no way we would have that kind of ice form up on our engine cowlings like that. But it's just a visual indication that you have been in icing. As you can see here, our fuel tanks are back up to full almost, so we should get those aux pumps low pressure lights coming on soon, and then we'll shut those off. I had to drop down the altitude, so we're down to about 1,000 feet above ground right now, just to stay clear of those clouds, so we weren't going to get any more icing on the windscreen, because we do have a limited amount of de-ice fluid to use, and we might get a little bit more snowy weather around Montreal, so we might need it. So I'll check back in with you as we get a little closer to Montreal. Okay, so it looks like our fuel empty lights just came on here. So we got the left aux fuel empty, the right aux fuel empty. So we'll cancel that alert, and you'll see our fuel tanks are back to showing full again, so all that fuel is transferred over. So we will just shut off these aux pumps here, and those lights are gone, and we still have a good 50 gallons of fuel left, so we'll have more than enough to make it to Quebec City. We're still flying along the St. Lawrence here, can see it off into the distance there, and we're still quite cloudy here. It's been getting pretty consistent overcast cloud now, and we're about 1,000 feet above ground and about 500 feet below the clouds. That's about the limit for doing VFR flying. We do have great visibility, so I think we'll be able to continue on VFR here. We'll see what it looks like when we get to Montreal, which shouldn't be too much longer. So here we are, just coming up to the Montreal area. We just crossed over into the island of Montreal. And if you see here, the St. Lawrence River off to our right splits. And this is actually an island within the St. Lawrence River. And just over to our right here, you can see Montreal International Airport. That's Pierre Trudeau International. And off to the right, you can see the St. Lawrence continuing down to the south, and also over on the northeast here as well. So the main part of downtown Montreal is just off over to the right here. So what we can do is, I think we'll just get by the airport here, and then we'll kind of head over in that direction and have a look. So here we are, just coming up over downtown Montreal. That's Mount Royal to the left. It's a big park area in Montreal, top of the hill. And this is the downtown portion of the city. Make a little left turn here and continue down the St. Lawrence River. And it's probably pretty accurate for the weather, I think, in Montreal. They were calling for 2,000-foot ceilings and occasional snow showers, so luckily we don't have to deal with that right now, so we're able to continue with the VFR leg up the St. Lawrence here. Beautiful. So next we'll talk to you on our way into Quebec City. As we're just leaving Montreal, we're just flying by the Olympic Stadium, which is called the Big O, and that was from the 1976 Montreal Olympics. Let's just pop outside and have a look. See the whole Olympic Park right here, where they had the Olympics. Okay, so we're still flying along the St. Lawrence River here, and it's cleared up nicely, and that's pretty much what they were forecasting for the area. It's cold though. Temperatures dropped quite a bit. It's minus 17 at 1,500 feet here. So we're coming up on 14 miles back. Let's get some ATIS and see which runway we're going to land on in Quebec City. So the frequency is 134.6. Hoping the ATIS is working on here. Nope, doesn't look like the ATIS is working, so I'll just look at the METAR for Quebec City. And they are showing right now just a few clouds and 270 at 7 gusting 15, so I think we'll plan on landing on runway 29. So at this point I would just make a Unicom call if this was an uncontrolled airport. Quebec City traffic. This is Diamond Charlie Bravo November Delta Tango. We are currently 11 miles to the west, inbound for landing to join a left base for runway 29 full stop. So I'll join you next as we are on left base for 29. And at this point I just make a Unicom call. It's Bandit Charlie November Delta Tango. We are currently 11 miles to the west, inbound for landing to join a left base for runway 29 full stop. So I'll join you next as we are on left base for 29. And at this point I just make a Unicom call. It's Bandit Charlie November Delta Tango. We are currently 11 miles to the west, inbound for landing to join a left base for runway 29 full stop. So I'll join you next as we are on left base for 29. And at this point I just make a Unicom call. It's Bandit Charlie Or Charlie Bravo November Delta Tango, we are left base, runway 29. Get my gear down. And start our turn to final, reduce our power. A little bit high, we'll correct that. We got our final flaps, so coming back on glide path, speed's coming back nicely. And we got our gears down, flaps our approach, slowing to about 85 knots. Touchdown. So I think we'll just backtrack to taxi clear the runway. Which is shorter than going all the way down to the end. Okay, we'll just come to a stop, set our parking brake, and we'll go through our post-landing checks. So, get our taxi light on, landing light off, shut off these boost pumps, bring our flaps up, and then I think we're ready to taxi back in. So here we are at our parking spot in Quebec City, and we'll just shut off the engine masters here, and the engines are stopped. So I think that's it for our first leg of our trip. Looks like a beautiful day in Quebec City. I think I'll just head to the hotel and get myself a Molson's and a poutine for dinner, and plan our next leg, which I think will be up to Goose Bay, Labrador, which will take us up to northern Canada and get us up closer to Greenland, when we're going to start our trip across Greenland and our oceanic crossing over to Iceland. So that should be a lot of fun. So I hope you enjoyed the trip today, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notifications button if you'd like to join us for future trips. Really enjoyed having you along, and we'll see you next time. Bandit out.